Chapter 459. Good girl, stand up on your own. Don't make me do it myself. Thea was taller than the Lightning Lady. She stroked her hair as if she was petting a cat. The Lightning Lady's body was numb. She had already forgotten that she was shouting that she was a god a minute ago. She stood up trembling like a quail. Thea waved her right hand and used a simple water extraction spell to suck away all the remaining water on the Lightning Lady's body. Seeing such an unnatural scene up close, Miss Leslie Wales did not dare to act rashly even though the electric current in her body was running again. Very well, control your temper. What I want to say is that you're not a god. You're just a lucky guy. If it weren't for my help, you'd still be in the morgue. Me? As her mind cleared, she finally recalled the electric shock. Superman didn't save me? Thea laughed. This was the typical attitude of the citizens of the metropolis. They usually scolded Superman loudly, but when something happened, they felt that Superman should save them. How much did they pay him to be a nanny? It could be said that these people were spoiled by superheroes. Unfortunately, Superman didn't save you. Of course, his ability doesn't include healing. At that time, you were already in a state of suspended animation. He didn't notice. The Lightning Lady looked at the surroundings. It was creepy no matter how she looked at it. She asked hesitantly, "Can I go now?" Thea laughed. "What do you think?" The Lightning Lady's emotions rose again. She gathered a large amount of electric current between her hands again. "You can't stop me?" Thea looked at her watch. She still had to eat with Diana later. She really didn't have time to waste with her. She signaled Poison Ivy, who had just walked over, to deal with her. She walked out herself. "Don't go." A dazzling electric light struck Thea's back. This kind of attack was scattered and messy. Thea didn't look back. She directly set up a magic barrier behind her. It blocked the electric light without any ripples. The aqua-blue teleportation door opened. She stepped through it and left the underground base. Where did she go? Thanks to the huge amount of information in the current society, a living person just disappeared right in front of her eyes. She had only seen such a bizarre thing in novels. Could it be that the portal just now was? No one answered her question. A huge plant emerged from the floor and wrapped her up in 3 layers. "Poison Ivy, you broke my floor again," Death Knell said speechlessly. Poison Ivy, who was walking over from afar, shrugged her shoulders and didn't seem to care at all. "Is this woman our new companion? What a bad temper. I'll leave it to you. I still have things to do." Death Knell threw a ring to Poison Ivy. Thea left it behind. "Give it to her when the time is right." Seeing how Death Knell ignored her and walked away, leaving behind a woman with green skin and red hair, Electric Lady felt that she was being looked down upon. "Don't go." She tried to release the electricity around her to burn this strange plant that was binding her. However, she miscalculated. Poison Ivy's plant wasn't from Earth but from a peace-loving, high-tech planet. It didn't have any special abilities other than absorbing electricity. It could absorb anything that was related to electricity. Poison Ivy didn't intend to use it in battle and only kept it for fun out of curiosity. Now that it had come in handy, even she was surprised. Ah! Let me go. Let me go if you dare." No matter how hard Electric Lady released the electricity, the plant in front of her looked half dead, as if it would turn into charcoal in the next moment. However, after 10 minutes, Electric Lady's continuous discharge was a heavy burden on her body. She didn't know how to communicate with plants, but she could observe that the plant in front of her had undergone many subtle and indescribable changes. Poison Ivy was overjoyed. The joy of the plant was her joy. She was still cheering for Electric Lady. "Continue, don't stop." Thea left Electric Lady's violent temper to Poison Ivy's slow-witted temper. She was prepared to teach her a lesson. She shouldn't always think that the heavens were number 1 and she was number 2. The prosperity of the metropolis had returned to normal. The citizens on the streets and alleys resumed their daily lives. Thea left the underground base and was currently shopping crazily with Diana in a nearby store. Both of them were extremely tall. With their height and good figure, they could always wear long skirts as short skirts. Even though many of the clothes looked good, they couldn't fit the two of them. This had always been their problem. Of course, the young lady could call 100 assistants to buy clothes for her, but Diana enjoyed the pleasure of shopping, so she followed them out without a care. Long-sleeved ladies' blouse, round-collared autumn and winter long-sleeved wool coat, casual professional trousers, spaghetti straps, mini-skirts, long boots, and various high heels. They didn't care if it was useful or not. Both of them bought a huge bag. You're out shopping too? What a coincidence, what a coincidence. The two of them bought a huge pile of clothes. The clothing store owner personally escorted them out of the store. They bumped into Clark Kent and Louise Lane. Diana habitually greeted them. The two of them didn't expect to bump into each other on the streets. After all, no one had supervision and superhearing 24/7. Although Thea had changed slightly, her overall appearance hadn't changed. Those who had seen her before could still recognize her. On the surface, she and Clark knew each other, but they weren't close. However, Diana shouldn't know Clark. Louise Lane turned her head to look at her boyfriend in confusion. Then, she looked at the extraordinarily handsome Diana. Her mind was filled with questions. "I'll explain later," Bro Superman smiled sheepishly. Seeing that Thea and Louise were about to leave, he quickly stopped them. "Thank you for saving Jimmy. It's my treat. Let's have dinner together?" Louise seemed to have thought of something but didn't interrupt. The two girls looked at each other. They hadn't eaten dinner yet. "Let's have a big meal together." Clark Kent wasn't a poor man. His family owned a farm, so he didn't need to hire anyone. He alone could take care of 10,000 people. In the metropolis, the Daily Planet wasn't a street tabloid. By reporting first-hand information about many superhumans, Clark received more bonuses than the editor-in-chief. He held a very high position in the hearts of the media workers. Otherwise, the scene of Luthor urging him to shake hands with Bruce wouldn't have appeared in the movie Dawn of Justice. Aside from his identity as a hero, not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry was qualified to shake hands with a billionaire. There were even rumors that this year's Pulitzer Prize would be awarded to him. Louise Lane was a stealthy, rich woman. Because of her father's fame, the merchants didn't dare to take her money for fear of being captured by her father for human experiments. Plus, after working at the Daily Planet for so many years, she spent little and earned a lot. It was hard for her not to be rich. Chapter 460. They found a high-end restaurant and chatted as they ate. "Were you the ones who saved Jimmy? Are you all superheroes? Did you know him before?" The him Louise was referring to was naturally Clark. Her IQ wasn't low, and being a reporter was a profession with strong analytical abilities. Superman had specifically mentioned Jimmy's incident, and connecting all the clues together, it wasn't difficult to discover the truth. Louise knew Superman's true identity, but she didn't expect that there would be a superhero among the people she knew. Furthermore, he was a billionaire. Her only question was whether both women were heroes or if one of them was. Thea and Diana looked at each other and nodded. Louise could be said to be the closest ordinary person to a superhero. Her father and her boyfriend knew about Thea's true abilities, so it was not unacceptable for them to tell her. "Oh," Louise suddenly realized. "So, you really saved Jimmy? Who's Jimmy?" Diana did not know who Jimmy was. Thea saw that the restaurant was quiet and no one was paying attention to her. She reached out and tapped the table lightly. With a water mirror image, Jimmy Olsen's image was reflected. Diana looked at the image and felt that it was familiar. "Oh, it's him. He's quite a brave person." Thea pursed her lips. This was called being dumb, okay? This was not bravery at all. Louise was completely convinced when she saw this. She curiously tapped her finger on the water mirror. Her finger was clean and there was nothing there. Seeing that they were open about it, Superman sighed in relief. "What were the enemies you encountered on the island?" Jimmy took a lot of pictures. Were they aliens? These things had been explained several times, and Sia was very familiar with it. She told him everything from the beginning to the end. Superman sometimes frowned and sometimes pursed his lips. When he heard that the enemies were all wiped out and that the Justice faction had one more Hercules, he felt much more relaxed. What Thea said had little impact on Superman. Whether it was gods or evil, it was the same to him. However, these things were a little unsettling to Louise. The Greek gods, the will of the world, and the Atlanteans were all contrary to her original worldview, especially when she found out that Diana was the daughter of the king of gods, and that there was another well-known god who was currently recuperating in Metropolis. She was completely at a loss for words. Poseidon, Hercules. Superman was a little excited when he heard these names. Unlike the Martian Manhunter who had lived for hundreds of years, Superman was still a young man according to the age of the Kryptonians. It was inevitable for him to be competitive, but he also knew that it was not the right time to suggest a fight, so he suppressed the urge. Now that they had a preliminary understanding of each other, it was easy to chat. Thea was mainly concerned about Superman's recent encounters. Superman was a little puzzled when he mentioned that some unknown forces had been attacking him with missiles recently. Thea pretended to be puzzled, but she knew that Luthor had started to collect Superman's genes to make clones. To clone someone like Superman, whose genes were perfect, required a lot of preparatory work. Even with the help of the Kryptonians who had surrendered, Luthor's workload was so heavy and cumbersome that it made him lose a lot of hair. It should be known that Earth's current technological level could only clone some animals. Even someone like Sia, who had scoured space for scientific and technological knowledge, could only clone ordinary people. Mr. Luthor was too careless. He directly went for the most difficult one and chose the hell difficulty as the starting point. Sia did not know what to say, but this person actually succeeded. It was truly shocking. As for the missiles that attacked Superman, Poison Ivy controlled the plants and collected some samples without anyone noticing. Thea only took a few glances to know that Luthor was the one behind it. He had installed a lot of nanomachines on the missile warhead, coupled with invisible kryptonite needles. He was using these things to silently collect Superman's cells. At present, only Thea and Luthor had the technology to use miniaturized equipment and knew how to use kryptonite. Since it wasn't Thea who did it, it went without saying who was behind it. When Thea saw the nanomachines picked up by Poison Ivy, she realized that Luthor had mastered the atomization knowledge she revealed on the spaceship. This man was really amazing. Although he didn't understand a lot of things at the time, he remembered everything Thea said on the spaceship and went home to study it. Just by looking at the nanomachines he made, she knew that he had put in a lot of effort. The only good news was Luthor's personality. He was arrogant, proud, and wanted everyone to look at him. This personality determined that he wouldn't study the atomic suit. He wanted to make an indomitable robot and beat Superman to the ground. He wouldn't become invisible to a microscope to deal with Superman. The Atomic Man's philosophy and personality were too different from his. If one day he really became invisible and unknown, he would rather die. The four of them chatted, and time passed quickly. When they said goodbye to each other, Diana hesitated for a moment and said, "I want to fight with you." Diana was unusually serious when she spoke. Thea immediately realized that she had been holding this sentence in her heart for a long time, but she just couldn't find the opportunity to say it. She believed in Diana's strength and didn't stop her. Instead, she quietly waited for Superman's response. Louise also realized the seriousness of the atmosphere. In her impression, Superman was synonymous with invincibility. She was a little excited that someone was going to challenge him today. The right to choose fell into Superman's hands. According to his heart, he wanted to fight to his heart's content. But there were too few enemies on Earth that were worthy of him fighting. The comfortable environment had eroded the warlike nature of the Kryptonian in his blood. Tonight, he first heard the story of their battle with Hercules, and then Diana wanted to fight with him. The passion in his heart finally suppressed all his worries. "Okay, I promise you, but the venue of the battle." "Thea will definitely think of a way," Diana said affirmatively. Ideas flashed through Louise's mind. Space combat was the most environmentally friendly. Although both of them could survive in space, Diana obviously wasn't good at space combat, so this option was directly rejected. If they fought on Earth, Superman could continuously absorb the energy of the yellow sun, which was also unfair to Diana. Plus, the various satellite observations were too troublesome, and they caused a lot of damage to the surface. Thea felt that the two of them could deviate the planet's orbit. For the sake of the 6 billion people, Earth was also rejected. The only option left was to go to outer space. Where to go? It was best to go to a place where there was neither a yellow sun nor a red sun. That? Can I go and watch the battle? I haven't seen him fight with all his strength yet. Louise Ryan gave Thea another difficult problem. Superman stared at her with bright eyes. His meaning was self-evident. Thea scratched her head. There were so many restrictions, and it had to be a planet where an ordinary person like Louise could survive.